That thing you've been putting off, it's not going anywhere. And the reason you haven't started has nothing to do with being lazy. Your brain is running a program right now, an ancient survival mechanism that's interpreting your unfinished task as a genuine threat to your existence. 15 minutes from now, you'll understand exactly how to reprogram that system. Let's talk about what's actually happening inside your skull when you choose scrolling over starting. There's a walnut-sized cluster of neurons called the amygdala, and it's been keeping humans alive for millions of years by detecting danger and triggering escape responses. The problem: this primitive alarm system can't tell the difference between a predator and a presentation. When you think about that project deadline, your amygdala screams the same warning it would if you were facing a lion. Danger detected. Initiate escape protocol now. Your prefrontal cortex, the logical part of your brain, should override this panic. Instead, it becomes an accomplice. It generates perfectly rational-sounding excuses to justify the fear response your amygdala already triggered. I need more information before I start. Today isn't ideal. I work better under pressure anyway. These aren't conscious decisions. They're your brain's attempt to protect you from perceived threats, specifically the threat of failure, judgment, or discomfort. Research from the University of Rochester confirmed something fascinating. Those excuses that feel so logical aren't rational thoughts at all. They're rationalizations, stories your brain invents after your nervous system has already decided to avoid the task. You're not choosing to procrastinate. You're experiencing an automatic survival response to psychological discomfort. But knowing this changes nothing if you don't understand the fuel system behind it. Dopamine isn't the pleasure chemical everyone thinks it is. That's a fundamental misunderstanding that keeps people trapped in procrastination loops. Dopamine is motivation fuel. It's what keeps you pursuing a goal, even when every fiber of your being wants to quit. And there are two completely different dopamine systems fighting for control of your behavior right now. The first system delivers phasic dopamine, quick explosive hits that feel incredible and make you act impulsively. This is what fires when you click a random video, check your phone, or break your diet. It's instant, intense, and addictive. The second system produces tonic dopamine, a steady, sustained flow that keeps you locked into long-term tasks. This is what allows you to read an entire book, work through a difficult problem, or maintain focus for hours without getting distracted. Here's where chronic procrastinators get destroyed. Phasic dopamine hijacks tonic dopamine completely. Imagine a hose pumping steady motivation toward your important work, but someone keeps shutting it off to spray quick bursts at random distractions instead. Every notification, every scroll, every impulsive click trains your brain to prefer instant gratification over sustained focus. You're literally rewiring your neural pathways to make procrastination your default setting. A Stanford neuroscientist studying this phenomenon explained it perfectly. Modern environments are designed to trigger phasic dopamine spikes constantly. Social media platforms, video recommendations, game mechanics, they're all optimized to hijack your reward system. And every time you give in, you strengthen the neural circuits that prioritize immediate pleasure over meaningful work. You're not weak. You're fighting an environment specifically engineered to distract you. So how do you fight back? First, you need to name what you're actually afraid of. Stop right now and think about the task you're avoiding. What's the real fear underneath? Are you afraid of discovering you're not as capable as you thought? Afraid of being judged if you fail? Afraid of starting something you might not finish? Write it down. Actually, write it down physically with pen and paper. This isn't therapy, it's neuroscience. When you write by hand, you activate your motor cortex in connection with your limbic system. You're taking an abstract fear that lives as a vague threat in your subconscious and turning it into concrete words you can examine rationally. Unnamed fears are shadows on the wall that seem gigantic. Named fears become specific problems you can address. You're transferring emotional processing from your primitive brain to your logical prefrontal cortex. Now flip the fear. Most people fear action. What if I try and fail? What if I'm not good enough? You're asking the wrong questions. The real question is what happens if you don't act? Close your eyes for 10 seconds and visualize this. 6 months from now, you still haven't done anything about what you're avoiding today. How does that feel? What opportunities died? What version of yourself never emerged? Now push it further. 3 years from now, same patterns, same fears, same procrastination. Where are you? This isn't meant to torture you. It's meant to recalibrate your threat detection system. Your brain is avoiding the immediate discomfort of starting while completely ignoring the massive long-term pain of regret. When you train yourself to fear inaction more than action, something powerful shifts. Procrastinating becomes more painful than doing the work. But you need a concrete strategy to redirect your dopamine system. Write down one difficult task you need to complete today. Just one. Your brain can't maintain tonic dopamine flow toward multiple goals simultaneously. It fragments your motivation across too many targets and leaves you with nothing substantial to drive any single action forward. One clear target focuses everything. Set an artificial deadline that's slightly uncomfortable. If you think you need 4 hours, give yourself 3. Controlled pressure activates your focus mechanisms without triggering panic. Choose your reward before you begin, something you genuinely want but can only have after completing the task. Remove every distraction from your environment. Phone in another room. All browser tabs closed except what you need. Notifications completely off. The reward has to be intentional, not automatic. Netflix isn't a reward if you watch it every night anyway. Social media isn't a reward if you check it out of habit. You're creating a dopamine transaction. Complete focused work. Receive genuine pleasure. This trains your brain that sustained attention leads to satisfaction. But there's a hidden saboteur that destroys this entire system before you even begin. Perfectionism. And it's probably operating in your brain right now without you realizing it. Perfectionism masquerades as high standards, but it's actually a sophisticated avoidance mechanism your brain uses to justify inaction. It whispers seductive lies. I can't start this project now because I only have 90 minutes before my meeting. I need at least 3 uninterrupted hours to do it properly. Or maybe it says, I'm not inspired right now. I should wait until I feel more creative. The environment isn't quite right. My desk is messy. I should organize everything first. These aren't logical thoughts. They're elaborate excuses your prefrontal cortex constructs to avoid triggering that amygdala alarm we talked about earlier. The perfectionist paradox is brutal. By demanding perfect conditions before you start, you guarantee you'll never start at all, because perfect conditions don't exist. There will always be something slightly off, always a reason to wait. So here's the counter-strategy that defeats perfectionism at its core. Commit to 2 minutes of deliberately terrible work. Not good work, not even mediocre work. Explicitly bad work with zero expectations of quality. Tell yourself, I'm going to open this document and write complete garbage for exactly 2 minutes. Or I'm going to make a horrifically ugly first draft of this design. Give yourself permission to produce something embarrassingly bad. Why does this work when everything else fails? Because perfectionism loses its grip when you remove quality as a variable. Your brain can't deploy its usual defenses. It can't say the conditions aren't right when you've already acknowledged the work will be awful regardless of conditions. You've eliminated the gap between expectation and reality that perfectionism lives in. What happens in those 2 minutes changes everything. You'll notice something strange. Starting feels almost easy when you've removed the pressure to perform. And once you've broken the initial inertia, momentum takes over. 2 minutes becomes 5. 5 becomes 15. Before you realize it, you're fully engaged and the work isn't even that bad anymore. Your brain was lying about needing perfect conditions. It just needed permission to begin imperfectly. But there's another invisible force sabotaging you that has nothing to do with fear or dopamine. Your physical environment is either your greatest ally or your worst enemy, and most people completely underestimate its power. You are not stronger than your surroundings. If your workspace is cluttered with distractions, if your phone sits within arm's reach, buzzing with notifications, if your computer has 17 tabs open including social media, you've already lost before the battle begins. Environmental design isn't optional, it's foundational. Your brain follows the path of least resistance automatically. If checking your phone requires less effort than focusing on your difficult task, your brain will choose the phone every single time. So you need to engineer your space to make the right choice the easiest choice. Phone goes in another room entirely, not face down on your desk, not in your pocket. Different room. Browser gets locked down to only essential tabs. Use website blockers if necessary. Notifications off completely. Create what researchers call desirable difficulty for the things you want to avoid, and remove all friction from what you want to accomplish. If you need to write, have your document already open to exactly where you need to continue. If you need to study, have your materials laid out in sequence before you even sit down. Make starting as thoughtless as possible. Your workspace should be minimalist, almost to the point of feeling empty. Every object in view is either actively serving your current task or creating mental clutter. That interesting book on your desk, remove it. That stack of mail? Gone. The environment should communicate one message to your brain. This is where focused work happens, nothing else. But even with perfect environment and defeated perfectionism, there's still one critical element that determines whether you'll actually follow through: clarity. Most procrastination isn't actually about avoiding work. It's about avoiding the discomfort of not knowing exactly what to do next. The task feels like a massive, undefined blob that your brain can't grasp, so it avoids the entire thing. Break it down into absurdly small concrete actions, not write report. Instead, open document, write title, create 3-section headers, Write first sentence of introduction. Each step should be so small it feels almost silly. This activates something called the Zeigarnik effect. Your brain develops tension around incomplete tasks. Once you complete even the tiniest first step, your mind wants to resolve that tension by continuing. The clarity you're building isn't just about making tasks manageable. You're removing the cognitive load of decision-making during execution. When each next step is predetermined, your brain doesn't have to figure out what to do. It just has to do what's already decided. Now, here's what nobody mentions about all these techniques. They only work if your body is actually capable of focused work. Energy management isn't some optional bonus strategy. It's the foundation everything else sits on. Your brain uses roughly 20% of your body's total energy, despite being only 2% of your body weight. When you're running on poor sleep, bad nutrition, and zero movement, no productivity technique will save you. Sleep cannot be negotiated. You can't hack your way around it. 7 to 9 hours for most people isn't a suggestion. Exercise isn't about fitness here. It's about increasing blood flow to your brain and clearing metabolic waste that builds up during mental work. Even a 15-minute walk makes measurable differences in focus and clarity. Respect your natural energy cycles instead of fighting them. Most people have a peak focus window sometime in their day. Maybe it's early morning, maybe it's late at night. Whenever yours is, that's when you schedule your most difficult cognitive work. Everything else fits around that window. The final piece is commitment. Real commitment, not vague intention. You need to create actual stakes. Write your task on paper, sign it, and put it somewhere you'll see it constantly. Or go further. Tell someone specific what you're committing to complete, and by when. Public commitment creates social pressure that your brain takes seriously. Your identity is now attached to following through. Every time you honor these commitments, even small ones, you're not just completing tasks. You're literally becoming a different person, someone who does what they say, someone who acts despite discomfort. That identity shift is permanent once it takes hold. You're no longer someone trying to stop procrastinating. You're someone who simply doesn't procrastinate anymore. That's who you are now. Everything you've learned in the last 15 minutes lives in your brain right now as information. Tomorrow morning it'll be gone unless you do something with it immediately. Not later today, not when you finish watching other videos. Right now, pick the smallest possible action related to what you're avoiding. Write one sentence, open one file, make one phone call. Doesn't matter if it's perfect. Doesn't matter if you're scared. The version of you that completes difficult things only exists on the other side of starting. Your amygdala will scream. Let it. Your prefrontal cortex will generate excuses. Ignore them. The discomfort you feel right before taking action is just your nervous system doing what it's been doing for millions of years. It means nothing about your capabilities. It's just noise. Every person who's ever accomplished anything meaningful felt exactly what you're feeling right now. The only difference is they moved anyway, not because they were braver or more talented or had better circumstances. They just understood that action comes before confidence, not after. So here's what happens next. You close this video. You eliminate one distraction from your environment. You write down one specific task, and you start. 2 minutes of imperfect work. That's all. The rest takes care of itself once momentum kicks in. The task isn't going anywhere. Neither is the fear. But you already know how to move through both of them now. You have the map. Time to walk the path.